day of training, so obviously don't have that much time. So just keep that in mind. So one of the things we look at is water filtration. And yes, video, camera, pictures, that's all good. No worries. No secrets here. So many people, I think the UN says up to 2 billion people still don't have access to clean water in the world. So there's many ways we can address with that, and many places are looking at filtration inside the family home, which is a great option. But this system that I'm going to explain a little bit here is for on the community level. So instead of every family having their own filtration system, it's a shared system. So this one here, this size, produces 300 liters of clean water in a day. And you can scale up by making the barrels in the system larger if you need more. So basically what happens here is your water comes in from any water source. Could be rainwater that you collected, could be from a river, could be from a reservoir. But the idea is that your water source is upstream from your filter system, so we can use gravity. So there's no mechanical moving parts, and that makes it easy to maintain and cheaper. So the water comes into the system, and it's a little hard to see here because the tanks are not see-through, and that's on purpose. We don't want them to be see-through so that we don't promote the growth of algae and etc. But actually this pipe that comes in here at the top, actually it opens up at the bottom. Okay, so the water is actually coming out here inside. And in this tank, as you can see in this tray, we have different sizes of rock. Okay, large, about fist size, medium, and then small. Large at the bottom, medium, and small, as you can also see in the picture there. So the water comes out, and then it's actually pushed up through this barrel because we've got an up and down motion, and gravity is helping us build some pressure. Okay, so once the water starts moving, it keeps moving. The role of the gravel in barrel number 1 is to trap physical contaminants. So pieces of leaves, pieces of bugs, soil, sand, that kind of thing in the space between the gravel. So as the gravel gets smaller, we're trapping smaller and smaller things. Then the water moves from barrel number 1 to barrel number 2, and it's going to move down through barrel number 2. And in barrel number 2 we have sand. And ideally, if we can, we have a coarser sand and then a finer sand. Okay. In the picture you can see there's also a little bit of rock on the bottom. That's not for filtration. That's to prevent the sand from going through the system and blocking up the pipes. Okay. The main job is being done by the sand itself, which is filling most of the barrel. Again, the sand is trapping physical contaminants, but of a smaller and smaller size. But also, on the top of the sand, we get what's called a biofilm layer. So we have physical contaminants in the water, but we also have biological contaminants in our water. All kinds of microorganisms live in there normally, naturally, but they might not agree with our system, and they might make us sick. But it's very difficult to take those out by some work of our hand. So what we do is we encourage competition. So when microorganisms come in the water by themselves and they hit the sand, it's a good environment for them to make a colony. So they try to start establishing on the top of the sand layer. And initially they eat other microorganisms in the sand that are not as strong. And as this colony gets stronger and stronger, they eat the food that's here. And if you just stop there, they would die. There's no more food coming into the system, except it's an active system, right? There's more water coming in, and in more water is more microorganisms. So the colony here, after it establishes, which takes about 30 days usually, it acts as a barrier for us. These microorganisms eat new microorganisms coming into the system and old ones that were not competitive. And so there's no sorting of microorganisms that might make us sick and ones that might not. No, we're just doing strong versus weak. But the strong ones don't want to go anywhere. This is their colony, and the weak ones get consumed. If some do make it past that colony into this barrel, there's no food. It's being consumed here, so then they die. So in this way, we can naturally use competition to remove biological contaminants from our water. Now, this system, I should tell you, is not designed by ECHO. It's actually designed by a group called Aqueous Solutions. And they've been working in the water field for about 15 years. And so they've done the development, the design, the research, etc. And according to their research, when you set up the system correctly and maintain it, then we can take out about 99% of the contaminants in our water and the microorganisms that would make us sick. Can you reintroduce microorganisms into the system if you're not careful, if you're, putting your hands in, of course, or if you're not covering it, of course. So maintenance is important. But according to their research, this barrier really helps us take out the biological contaminants. Then barrel number 3 is what we'll be talking about later today, is biochar. So our focus today is going to be on soil, but biochar can also be used in water. So one of the great features, or two of the great features of biochar, is that it's very, very porous material. So it has a big surface area, and it's charged. It's negatively charged, which means it's like a magnet. So when we have chemical contaminants in our water, that chemical contaminant can be drawn to the biochar and adsorbed, held on the surface of that biochar, and there's all this surface that can hold the chemical. Again, it's like the microorganisms. We're not sorting. We're not saying this is chemical is dangerous, this chemical is not dangerous. No, the biochar has no knowledge of danger, not danger. It just attaches to itself, to the surface, and therefore it doesn't keep going with our water. It's stuck there. So then when we get to the 4th barrel, we have our clean water source. And this is drinkable water. Now, of course, like I said, you can introduce things back into the system if you're not careful. So and each water context is a little different. Like, what was in that water to begin with? Was there a lot of chemical? Was there a lot of microorganisms? Was there a lot of sediment? It varies so much. So whenever possible, if a community can test their water before the system and after the system, then you can get an idea, particularly with maintenance, what needs to be done for your context. Okay? But the gravel and the sand is never going to go bad. There's nothing that can happen to it. The thing that makes it less effective is that the gaps are going to get filled with physical sediment. So you can see there's taps here at the bottom. So we can open that tap and wash the sediment out and then close it and allow it to keep going. So we would probably do that about once a month on default. But again, if we know a little bit more about our water, that might give us some ideas.
So you don't need to change the gravel and sand?
No, we never change the gravel and sand. We just wash out
What
the
about
sediment.
this biochar?
So that's a good question. So this one, we can't wash the chemical off. It's being held by that charge. So this one we're going to have to change out. We're going to have to take it out and put in new biochar. And the suggestion is once a year.
Once a year.
But again, knowing your
Depending on
water
your
situation is going to give you more knowledge about whether chemical contaminants are a big issue or not a big issue in your area. Similarly, if you had very dirty sediment water, maybe you have a reservoir area first where it settles and some of that settles out rather than allowing it right into the system. But like I said, this size, these are 200-liter barrels. This can produce enough water, 300 liters per day. That's clean water. If you need more, you can't put a pump or something like that on it, because then it's not going to be clean. It's just going to be fast. You have to get bigger barrels. This barrel, the size doesn't matter. This one I can make bigger without affecting anything, because it's just storage. But these 3 need to be the same size, and there's precise measurements of where the pipes are, etc., so we can get that pressure and keep that pressure. And we have a valve in the first one that helps turn the water on and off as it's exiting the system.
You said the water moves up from the first side.
So the water actually the opening of the pipe. This pipe that you see, the pipe continues all the way to the bottom, and the opening is here.
Okay.
So yes, it moves. The water moves up, fills the barrel as it comes out the pipe, and then when it gets to this height, it spills into this one, and then it fills this barrel up, and then the pipe is at the bottom of this one, and it's pushed up through the pipe into the top here. That pressure comes as one, we have gravity, so we're higher.
Yeah.
And then that up and down motion, you know, like you put a pipe in the and
the vacuum
yeah,
kind of,
suck it, and then that's what's happening here.
What's the pH of the water would be?
What's the pH of the water?
Alkaline?
I believe it is slightly alkaline, but I'd have to double check. I'm not sure off the top of my head. But there's a lot of information from this organization. You can, like I said, they're the developers. They've just given permission for us to share it widely.
Plastic is the only way, is it? There is a
Plastic. The reason we're using plastic is because it's the easiest to access at a cheap
Maintenance.
price and simple to maintain. But there we have a partner who has done a 2,000 liter system, and they use cement rings. But that's a lot more challenging to maintain because it's so much bigger.
Yeah.
It's
What
just
about earthen jars?
Other-
Earthen.
earthen jars.
Clay.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why it couldn't work as long as you can get some kind of pipe
easily
system through it.
maintain. One question I have, see, they come here and this filter goes here.
Yeah.
And from here the filtered water goes
So
to the pressure.
out here and then in here.
Okay.
It's going up and down like this.
What if the rainwater is continuously coming, if you have rains for more days and the water will keep on coming?
No, there's a valve in here.
You can adjust.
Yes. So I mean, you see that
Yeah,
little
you can go
red.
to the site and see, right?
Yes. There's on the site it shows you how to build it step by step and everything. But yes, there's a valve. So once once all the barrels are full, it will not let any more water in. And then I fill up a cup. It opens the valve and more comes in.
And see, there are microorganisms in the first phase and second. Before this, there are microorganisms.
Yeah.
There is no air, oxygen inside. Will they survive without oxygen?
So these ones are actually not airtight. These
Oh,
three.
they are not that type.
They're not airtight. They're just covered.
there
But yes,
is
this
aerobic-
one we could cover extra well, so there's nothing coming in. But these ones are just covered to prevent, lizard poop or a leaf or something like that. But no, not airtight. Yes, good point, because it's alive. So again,
Yeah,
this is
because it's
something.
alive, you need oxygen.
Yes, it needs to be
அந்த
active. It needs
சொன்னாங்கல்ல
to be used. We're
பயாலஜிக்கல்
not
திங்
going on
இருக்கும்ல
holiday for
மைக்ரோப்
2
இருக்கும்ல அது
months
என்ன
and then
பண்ணுதுன்னு
coming
சொல்றாங்க
back,
எனக்கு
they'll
புரியல என்ன
die.
சொல்றாங்க
பயோசாருங்கிறது
பயோசார் இல்ல அதுக்கு முன்னாடி ஒரு ஸ்டெப் சொன்னாங்கல்ல மைக்ரோப்ஸ் இருக்கும்
தண்ணியில இருக்கிற எந்த கண்டாமினன்ட் எது வேணா அது என்ன ஆர்கானிசம் எது இருந்தாலுமே அந்த சாண்ட்ல ஃபில்டர் ஆகி அந்த பயோசாருக்கு போயிடும் அப்படிங்கிறாங்க.
That's a good question.
எப்படி அப்படி ஆகும் இங்க என்ன நடக்குது கல்ச்சர் இருக்கா
யூசுவலிடா இந்த கல்லுக்கும் மணலுக்குமே வந்து ஃபில்ட்ரேஷனுக்கான கெப்பாசிட்டி இருக்கு. நம்ம பழைய காலத்துல மாதிரி என்ன பண்ணுவாங்க 4 பானையை அடுக்கிக்குவாங்க டிஃப்ரெண்ட் சைஸஸ்ல. அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பானையில கல் இருக்கும், செகண்ட் பானையில மணல் இருக்கும், தேர்ட் பானையில வந்து கறி நம்ம அடுப்பு கறி அதை வச்சிருவாங்க. இந்த மூணுலயே போய் நீ டிச்சு தண்ணியுமே எடுத்து நீயே இதை எக்ஸ்பெரிமெண்ட்டாக வீட்லேயே பண்ணி பார்க்கலாம். சின்ன 4 பானையை வாங்கிட்டு ஃபர்ஸ்ட் பானையில கல் வச்சுட்டு செகண்ட் பானையில வந்து மணலை வச்சுட்டு தேர்ட் பானையில வந்து கறியை வச்சுட்டு 4வது பானையில பார்த்தீங்கன்னா தண்ணி கிளியராக வந்து ஊற்றும். அந்த தண்ணி குடிக்கலாம் நம்ம.
ஓகே
அதுதான் பேசிக்கலி இது அதே வந்து நம்ம கம்யூனிட்டிக்கு இல்லை நம்ம வீட்டுக்கு பெருசாக பண்ணணும் அப்படின்னு இந்த மாதிரி ட்ரம்ஸ் வச்சு இது நீ 2000 லிட்டர்ஸ்க்கு பண்ணலாம், 100 லிட்டர்ஸ்க்கு பண்ணலாம், 1 லிட்டருக்கும் பண்ணலாம்.
I mean, there are ponds where rainwater is collected, all those.
So you're saying